Welcome. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2023. We are at the Greater Madawaska Town Hall, 19 Parnell Street. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Greater Madawaska calls to order the December 5th, 2024 regular council meeting at 3 p.m.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. All in favor? That is carried. Please stand for O Canada. Thank you. Please be seated. As we gather in chambers, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We'd like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We'd also like to thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Thank you. Miigwech. Moving on to 4.1, approval of agenda. Resolution, please.
That the agenda of the council meeting of December 5th, 2024 be approved as presented.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Tripp. Any discussion from council? None. All in favor? So carried. Thank you. Moving on to 5.1, approval of minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are approved by council. November 21st, 2024, regular council meeting.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Popke. Any discussion? Additions, changes, deletions? No, none seen. All in favor? That is carried. Do we have any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? There is none seen. Thank you. Moving on to 7.1. Since it's only been 2 weeks since our last meeting, my address to you is very short. I know you're happy about that. Since our last meeting, I represented the township at 3 meetings at county level. I went to 5 different community events in Greater Madawaska. And on Sunday, December 1st, 2024, Lions Club held their Santa Claus parade in Calabogie. This year, there were 19 floats, and it was extremely well attended for spectators as well. We had a nice day for it. And I'd just like to thank all those that attended the parade, took part in the parade, and the chance to meet Santa back at the community center later on. It was once again very well run. And as this might be our last meeting before Christmas break, I would like to wish everybody a safe and Merry Christmas. Thank you. We'll now move on to 8.1, delegation presentations, which is Employees' Years of Service and Recognition Awards. Years of Service Recognitions Awards are presented each year to employees who have reached milestone years in their service to the township. These dedicated employees will be personally presented with their awards during departmental social gatherings before the holidays. The 2024 Years of Service Recognition Award recipients are Tracy Strudwick, Library, 5 years. Chris Ferguson, 5 years with the Fire Department. Rob Barr, Public Works, 10 years. Oh, Nathan. Nathan, I always pronounce his his last name is wrong. Goulet, correct? Galmetti, thank you. Nathan has 15 years with the Facilities Department. And then Gary Galmetti, also with the Facilities Department, has 20 years of service. And then Todd McDonald, with the Fire Department, has 30 years of service. On behalf of council and staff, we extend our appreciation to them for their commitment and dedication to our town and just our community in whole. I know everybody on this list, and they're all great people and fine representation of our county, our township, county, and staff. Thank you. We'll now move on to 8.2, Calabogie and District Snowmobile Club as a delegation. You can just stay there. Yep, there you go. Just turn your mic on. And if you just introduce yourselves prior to speaking. Bring the mic a bit closer to you so that, there you go.
Sure. Hello, I'm Mark Diot. I'm the president of the Calabogie and District Snowmobile Club. Thank you for letting us meet with you today. And I have my vice president here, Chris Fleming. And we're here today to talk to you about a couple of topics. The first topic we'd like to talk about is the visitor center over near the dam. I know that, I guess, used to be a visitor center. I think it's no longer in use. And we'd like to talk about using that as a clubhouse, which we had done in the past. So there's that, and then I think we're also going to talk about a grant for some work that we want to do. So mentioning the Christmas party, we did get a float in that on Sunday, so it was good to get back into that again and bring more to the community and so on. So that's always what we want to do and what we try to encourage, and we've been participating more in that in recent years. So it's quite an extensive trail system across Greater Madawaska. It's about 192 kilometers of trail in our particular club, and it does go from Arn Prior, so it goes beyond just Greater Madawaska, but there's quite a lot of it. A good chunk of it does reside here. So we really appreciate all the support that the township has given us, and we do. I think we have an MOU with you, Renee, to sign to get because we do cross a lot of different properties in the district as well in the township. So,
if I may, Mark.
Sure.
The club has been in the area for almost over 50 years now. It was established in 1972 under the name Calabogie Marauders Snowmobile Club. Society, social circles, and politics have changed since the 70s, so it is now the Calabogie and District Snowmobile Club, which is an organization run by volunteers to create a form of recreation here that is a very integral part of the recreational offering of the region. It's again a group of volunteers who go out and on various platforms, brushing, opening up trails, clearing trails, signing trails, creating trailhead destination markers, and bringing economics and commerce into the area in the middle of winter. There's a lot of work gets done by these volunteers, and I think our approach here is to let you know that we're open for communication. A lot of things happen with our trail system, and we want to be seen as a leader in the region on keeping safe and responsible snowmobiling at the forefront. There is a very active executive structure within the Snowmobile Club that maintains an identity here, and we just thought we'd step up communication with the township to ensure that we're all pulling on the same team and that we're doing things that mutually benefit this township and the surrounding townships that we link to. Calabogie is a fundamental hub of linking trails from the Halliburtons and the Frontenac region to Stittsville and the Ottawa River region. So this club has the ability to really function as a destination trail system and has been for almost 50 years now. We've seen trail expansion and we've also seen trail development, and we're currently working on bridges, repairing trails. We're hauling aggregate to upgrade trails for safety and for better access for our grooming equipment. And I think tonight we do have an ask of the township for a grant of $5,000 to support us with trail signage, economic stimulus, trailhead mapping, and I think genuinely a club awareness of a club function here to support us. And phase 2 of that ask would be for council to consider with its staff. Mr. Amo and I have been talking about what possibilities might exist for the use of the tourist information building, which is, I believe, closed in the winter for the most part.
Yes, it's never been used in the winter, so that's why I'd have to bring back a recommendation to council, because there would have to be some financial to get that up for winter use. So I'll speak again with you, Chris, and we'll go with some over details, and then I can give that to council later at a later date.
So a little bit of history. Back in the late 70s, the Snowmobile Club had renovated and upgraded and opened the tourist information building to operate as a clubhouse for this club. And it ran for, I believe, I was fairly young back then, ran for 12 or 15 years as a clubhouse, where we held safety training, driver training programs, club meetings, functions, and get-togethers. So we're coming to council to once again ask if you could give us some consideration here to potentially bring back this building as an opportunity for us to use as a clubhouse once again. It's linked nicely to the KMP trail there. There's parking there, and it would work for us to further develop our platform here, as our club is certainly an important part in the Ottawa Valley to do our part as a club. So I believe that, you know, those 2 points would be a strong help to our club to help keep us advancing our programs, and our executive is very aggressive in putting the club front and center of this community once again, to be able to provide safe and enjoyable snowmobiling, and the local restaurants and the local Airbnbs and hotels and restaurants are certainly appreciative of our work, and we appreciate that. If there are any questions, we'd like to welcome them for what time might be available.
Well, fortunately for you, you still have 3 minutes, even like you got to talk for 3 more, but we'll go into questions. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Thompson.
Hi.
Hi.
I really appreciate all the work that all of the community groups do, but the snowmobile I know is a lot of work. So that's very good. My question is there any other, I think it's a great idea, but without knowing the cost, is there any other facility like the Lions or the community center that can that access off of the trails? Can you get access by snow there?
It's difficult because of where it is. We don't have a trail active, you know, to it. The community, we could develop the trail on the old rail bed line.
The spur line?
Yeah, but it's close to the school, it goes near the back of the school there.
Right.
So we're just kind of thinking that traditionally the clubhouse worked well at the tourist information building. It's an ask of, location and availability, and we can talk about what's required to maybe make that happen if it's a consideration of this township, and take it from there. I remember doing my driver training there when I was 14 and got my first license there.
That seems like a great place. I have just a follow-up. Are there washrooms there?
Well, that'll be one of the things we have to look into is winterizing that washroom to make it accessible for the wintertime, usable for the wintertime. It was originally built with heaters in it. The only issue is the water line runs to the lakes, would need a heat cable. So that's one of the issues we have to get around first.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Lebec?
Thank you, Mark and Chris, for that background. Obviously, a long history there. So one of the questions I have around the visitor center is, do you know what happened to the former agreement or why it stopped being used?
Yeah, it was, again, we're volunteer-based, so there was a time when limited resources and manpower was exhausted to get trails open, and we saw a decline in the spirit of the club format, and it became a service only. And what we're trying to do is bring back some atmosphere and some positivity in the culture of the club. And by having it grounded somewhere, I think is an important part of bringing the club to what was once a major area force. And nothing short or over the top. It's just, I think it becomes a feel-good, and we'll start to see more and more of the younger generation get involved. I think if there's a presence here, more than just let's go to Mark's house or let's go to this coffee shop or let's go to the Legion in Arnprior to meet. And because it's going all over, I feel it doesn't have a good grounding. And I recently got back involved in the club to hopefully support and help the limited volunteers that were there and holding it together for the last few years. So this is my way of saying let's put it in second gear and get it into overdrive here, and let's go.
Okay.
Councillor Lebec, supplementary?
Second question, around the grant, I'm sure you've got some ideas about what that would look like and what you need it for and what it's going to put to use for, but as part of the application of whatever refurbishing to the Heritage Point building, is that part of it?
No.
Or that's separate?
Once we receive a response, we'll look at that internally and see what, through the OFSC, or what grants may be possible for us to get. It's very limited. We had a very tough season in 23-24, where our membership has been cut in half. We're only seeing 40 to 50% of our membership numbers that we used to enjoy. We're sure that if we get a storm this year and snowmobile trails get open, hopefully this year, we'll see that change and see a sharp increase in membership. But where we used to enjoy a membership of around 700 members, we're now seeing 350 at this point. So we're keeping an eye. We're hoping we haven't lost those snowmobilers to weather, climate change, heating, whatever. We're just trying to give ourselves a presence and make a stand right here in Calabogie.
Okay,
so the grant would be delineated in the application that we fill out for the township to review.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? No, I thank you very much. I think that location at the park, the Heritage Point, it's underutilized during the winter, obviously, but we'd have to see what the costing is, and I guess Leonard's going to be putting that all together so that then we can readdress it. I think the other point we all need to know is how many snowmobiles out there, because it's storming pretty good right now. We might need rides home. No, if there's nothing else from council? No, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
We'll now move on to 8.3, Calabogie Motorsports Park and Music Festival. Go ahead, anytime you're ready.
I do have a slide.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I want to introduce Corey Klinkenberg, who is a senior level management team at the Calabogie Motorsports Park. Corey has agreed to come and help us do a presentation on some ideas and some events that we're working on, and wanted to simply introduce these ideas formally to the township and to have a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. So Corey, thank you for putting this together, and I'll let you carry forward.
Perfect. Hi there. So I know a number of you I've seen on site. We have had at least 3 meetings with some representatives from the township, municipality, OPP, the paramedics, everyone who would be needed to be in service for the event. It will be held June 6th, 7th, and 8th. Our special event permit is in with most of this information, so I just want to sort of present it as a package. So we are targeting sort of Canadian classic country and rock music, attracting hopefully a slightly older demographic, sort of people in this room kind of thing, just to yeah. So we do have a budget for bands about $600K. It's creeped up a little bit. This is a new industry to us, and securing bands is definitely a different world for sure. So we've been back and forth a few times with some acts. Unfortunately, I cannot announce any. I was hoping we'd have it all firmed up. We were hoping to start selling tickets actually for Cyber Monday, but again, the bands aren't fully all signed, sealed, and delivered yet, but there'll be 7 acts in total. Again, some of you may have already seen this, but Ken Craig he's a long time. He's been in the business for 44 years. So once we knew we were embarking on something outside of our traditional wheelhouse, we did seek out some professionals. So he's basically the 5 largest music like concerts in Ottawa. He's produced, as well as the top 3 in Canada. So the most recent one you may have heard of is Shania Twain at Wesley Clover Park. He produced that whole festival stuff. So he is very well versed in the industry, and it's going to make sure that everything runs smoothly and we have all the right people and things in place. So he's been involved for almost a year now in the pre-planning and just working through the site and stuff. So we're targeting with attendance around 8,000 people over the 3 days. The bands there'll be 3 acts on the Friday, and 4 to 5 on the Saturday. We may have a couple local acts sort of play people out in the morning on Sunday perhaps, but music would be done by 1 o'clock on the Sunday. So yeah, 7 days over 2 days. We're using all the grass area, runoff areas of the track for camping, so there'll be about 2,000 camping sites. We estimate about 5,000 weekend passes and about 3,000 sort of day tripper tickets. There's going to be about 30 vendors between food, beverage, and some local retail will be set up there as well. We do have a number of sort of VIP areas and some hospitality zones set up around the track. So this is the overall view of the festival. So the stage is at the bottom right of the screen, the little blue kind of box there, and then the green area is the large sort of general admission area. Anyone who's been to the track, there is a raised kind of knoll area in the quarry section there. That'll be sort of the VIP zone that'll have a really good vantage point of the stage. We'll have RV camping on all the paved paddock areas, as well as some of the really flat surfaces in and around the track. But it'll be primarily camping. All the green zones are camping. Because it's our first year, we need to be a little bit flexible as far as day trippers versus sort of weekend camping. So the blue area on the left-hand side of the track is going to kind of be a flex zone. So basically, we're not going to pre-sell anything there. We're just going to gauge how many people are coming. If they're coming just for the day, then we know we need to put our cars there. Vice versa, if the camping sales are going very well, then we pull it back and start putting camping. So again, being our first time, we're just looking at. One of the things that we need to do to accommodate these extra day trippers is expand our parking area. So Chris and his team have been diligently working through that. So it's basically on our property just to the right of the Wilson Farm Road, but that's the portion that that we own. This is just a close-up area of the sort of general mission and stage area. So there is going to be some fencing put around that raised area. And like I said, the vendors around there and stuff. So the capacity there is easily 10, 14,000 could fit there comfortably. So it's going to be well underneath the space. People have lots of space there. We are going to offer, so that upper area, there is, whichever of the beer vendors we go with, we're in talks with both of them. They do bring a sort of mobile trail that creates a VIP experience, so you can get about 800 to 1,000 people on this multi-tiered sort of platform up there. We are bringing in a number of glamping tents, so if people want to just sort of show up and camp, not necessarily in an RV, because the rental RV market, there's really probably not enough to satisfy demand. So we did bring in a bunch of tents. So we have up to 70 sites with these sort of glamping tents. Yeah, so the plan is in some of those camping areas where there's a large congregation of camping stuff, we're going to have hospitality zones that'll be sponsored by a business. And basically, because the music will stop at 11 and people are still going to look for somewhere to gather and stuff. So the only places that they'll be allowed to have any kind of fire or anything like that will be in these hospitality zones where people can kind of hang out, have a little bit of a fire and sort of wind down the evening. Like I said, so the camping options is the glamping. There's at least 200 RV sites on the paddock, and then 500 additional ones that we could accommodate on the track. We're going to leverage the fact that it's on a racetrack and the uniqueness of that. So we are going to bring in a bunch of virtual racing simulators that people can try during the day. The music's not going to start on Saturday till about 3 or 3:30. So during the day they can mill around, look at some of the vendors and things we have there. And there's also going to be an off-road experience. We've been talking with Tom Irwin about what he could do there. Also some dealerships to showcase some of their off-road vehicles. We do have an infield off-road park. It's just a little sort of showcase of stuff like that. And then we will bring in, contact some of our people that have, exotic cars and things, and have some small little car displays and stuff too, really showcasing the motorsport side of it. So we are looking for partnerships, and we're continuing to kind of fill out all of the stuff that's going to happen. But the tickets will be on sale before Christmas. We're at least hoping to get at least a couple weeks of that. So we're just waiting on the last couple bands to sort of sign and fill that in. But like I said, we've been having ongoing meetings with all the stakeholders involved in site tours and stuff, and we'll continue to do that as we get closer to the date. But so welcome. Any questions you might have? Perfect.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council? Councillor Levesque.
Thanks very much, Corey. It looks exciting. I like the name and the background. I'm sure it's going to be a big success. The question is, all of the food and beverage going to be on site?
Yes.
So there's nothing going to be spilling off into other restaurants in the area or anything like that?
Well,
they could.
People that are coming just for like a day trip or whatever, yes, they would, but that'll be self-contained.
Yeah, I was more concerned about them being overwhelmed with potentially.
I'm sure they will be
3,000
quite
people.
busy and stuff. I know most of the local, anyone that's heard of the dates and stuff, a lot of the calls have been going
They're
around.
starting
Like we needed some for our volunteers and a number of the staff and stuff, so we've secured a bunch of them, but I know there's been a lot of interest.
And the second follow-up question, you've mentioned the OPP, so is it only going to be OPP on site, or is it OPP and supplementary security?
OPP and private security. Okay. So it's basically threefold. So you have OPP kind of leading everything. Then will be Capital Security, a firm out of Ottawa, will be bringing in 25 to 30. And then we also have about 20 or 30 of our own staff, a lot of the marshals and their family and stuff. So we want to sort of supplement some of the private security with some of our guys, because they have a sense of ownership of the facility and take a lot of pride in it. So having them there will make sure that anything that's happening, whereas a random security person might just, whatever, I'm not going to bother. We're hoping to add some ownership there and pride in the facilities.
And have you discussed traffic impact and control of that?
So the OPP, that's why they were at the very first meeting we had of knowing where there's going to be some choke points.
Okay.
We're going to open up the gates really early on Friday, so hopefully the campers and stuff will come in more of a steady trickle rather than all at once. We do know the end of the evening when there is, the day tripper and stuff, there will be some traffic load there, but the OPP is working on a plan for that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? No, I think it's going to be a great event for you, and I'm looking forward to when you're able to announce the bands that are going to be taking part, and it'd be nice to see, as you mentioned, that you might grab some local people for Sunday or maybe fill in between.
Yeah.
So I think that would be wonderful if you can get some because we do have some amazing local talent around here.
It's worth mentioning as well, do I have any more time?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
6 weeks after that, we will be hosting the largest motorsports events we've ever had here as well. It's still not officially announced, but I guess, no. This is broadcast live, right?
This is live on YouTube.
Yeah, okay. So I can't say it yet because the organization involved needs to announce it first. That's part of the agreement, but it'll be the largest event we've had there. So we're expecting anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 people for that event. That'll be in July.
So it'll be nice cars.
So, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions from council? Oh, Councillor Tripp.
Thanks. That just caught my attention with the second wave. So very exciting. Lots of moving parts, I would assume, at the 11th hour as it all comes together for you. Expected 8,000 people coming in. When we've had that kind of traffic, when we've seen other events in the community, we've had issues with traffic control, not in terms of parking, but getting them off the highway and keeping that flow. Has there been any work or thought towards how to manage incoming and outcoming traffic flow?
Yeah, we're with Wilson Farm Road. We're getting people off the main corridor highway. It's 2.5 kilometers deep. And from that, we're spreading people off into paddock areas. So we feel very confident in our traffic planning to be able to distribute and get people off so there's no chokes or blocked roadways. And I've seen other events in the area, and I can appreciate what you're saying. We're fortunate that we have land and we have areas to be able to drive heavy flow and stage them until we can get them to where they're going. So that has been a major consideration in all of the planning to date so far.
Thank you. Yes, it was just an observation because we can have a fabulous event, but if people arrive frustrated, it takes the edge off. And we've had the opportunity to learn from other events in the community, and they've learned, so it's changed over the time. But just appreciate that you've had thought and due diligence on that.
Yeah, we have the two main gates that are over 40 feet wide, so we're going to be running 2 lanes into the main facility, and the new parking area, Chris has made 3 entrances to that as well, so there'll be lots of ways to get in there. So.
Very good. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Popke.
You said you wanted to sell the tickets or start selling them before Christmas.
Yes.
How about are you selling those, like on site or like online?
Online, yeah. So the website's sort of soft launch it where we're just testing and still filling in the details, but it'll be on a separate website, guitarsandgasoline.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you very much for your presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you, and you're more than welcome to leave or stay if you wish. See ya. We're now moving on to 9.1. High Country Estates, draft plan conditions, resolution, please.
That council endorse the proposed conditions of draft plan approval for plans of subdivision 47T23003, 47T23004, and 47T23005.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Tripp. Thank you. Background, please. Tracy, Kent, who's taking the lead on this? Kent? Kent is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Weir. Good afternoon, everyone. And I do have Jess Reed with me as well, just to provide backup in case you have some questions I can't answer. As was noted, this is related to the High Country Estates. So it's 3 separate plans of subdivision applications. Two are clusters of 6 lots, and one is a cluster of 8 lots for a total of 20 lots located on Centennial Lake or surrounding Centennial Lake Road near Anna Lake. And so before you today are 3 sets of conditions associated with each of those subdivision applications. The 3 sets of conditions are generally the same. There's some specific ones for each cluster, but generally they're all sort of your standard conditions that we would find sort of the typical conditions that we would find in these with these draft plan conditions. And the primary purpose is really to implement recommendations that have been brought forward in the technical studies and the peer reviews. So these conditions, a lot of them are implemented through subdivision agreements that are put in place and the detailed design, as I had said. The conditions are forwarded on after this. They get forwarded to the county for their consideration. The county ultimately is, as you all know, is the approval authority on this, and they'll be the final say on the conditions. Now, just so council's aware, the county staff did reach out to us this morning and noted that the conditions that we'd provided were on an old template. So some of those standard conditions, the wording might be changed slightly once it gets through the county, but the gist of those conditions will remain the same in terms of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to implement. We're guided, as I said, by the technical recommendations in each set of conditions. So as I said, what's before you today is a recommendation for endorsing those conditions and forwarding them on to the county for their consideration. So I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Kent. Any questions from Councillor Thompson?
About a year ago, we all sent the council and all the neighbors sent in their comments, and a lot of them came through me, so I've got them here. Will we have a chance to, as a council, see all those comments and see how the planners responded to them? I mean, we do that with a minor variance, but for something this big, we have little to go on other than what I know came through me.
So through the mayor, I think that would typically be with the county to provide those responses. The county will provide a recommendation for the approval of the conditions or draft plan conditions, and at that point they would respond to those public comments.
Supplemental?
Sorry, when will we get those?
When will council receive a response to those comments? I can't. Yes. I'm not sure at this point. I'm not sure when the county will provide those.
Because it's very difficult to make decisions when we don't know what the objections were. I mean, the whole council needs to know. I've got some because it's in my ward, and they came through me. Others came to everyone. I don't know how we can make a decision at this point if we don't know what the responses were.
Well, through the mayor, it's what's before you are the proposed conditions. It's not necessarily a decision on the subdivision itself. So, I mean, if council has concerns then with the conditions, then now is the time to provide those concerns.
Thank you. Any further supplemental?
Yeah. How do we know if the conditions reflect, like, if we approve the conditions now, we're doing it blindly?
Well, through the chair, I don't think that you're necessarily blindly doing that. Like, those conditions are based on the technical review and the peer review that was, including our own peer reviewers, the township's peer reviewers. So it's not blind in that regard, that they are considering technical comments. I've seen a lot of those technical comments, or the comments from the public in terms of how they relate to the technical aspects like groundwater and that sort of thing. And I believe that the peer review has addressed those from a technical standpoint. So, I mean, that it's up to council whether or not you feel that these are adequate conditions for addressing those public comments. As far as we're concerned, they're adequate from a technical standpoint. That's all I can say about that.
Thank you. Supplemental?
Yes. Our biggest concern is the condition that all the owners have to sign off that there might not, if there isn't enough adequate supply of water in the future, then it's not our fault. Yet I think it would be better to go back and find a way to make sure the water supply is enough for the number of lots rather than put a disclaimer in. I mean, that's our job, isn't it? To make sure, according to the provincial policy statement, to make sure there's enough. And I think it would be beneficial not just to the future homeowners, but to the existing homeowners around whose wells might be affected, as well as the developer, because I don't know how anxious a developer is going to be when it comes to selling, saying you need, if the water fails, then it won't be the township's fault. You know, isn't it better to go in saying we've reasonably accepted that it will be good?
Sorry, Kent, just may I interject for a second? I think, if I remember correctly, that was in the Granite Village as well. I think So I think is that a standard that's in most?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's a standard condition, and and I'm not a hydrogeologist, but from my examination of the hydro-G plus the peer review comments, there is an adequate supply of water. It's just that is a standard condition just to ensure that people don't have an expectation. It's the same as if you would drill a well yourself on your property. You're assuming all that risk. It's just simply stating that the township is not responsible if your well fails. And it's also a standard condition that doesn't necessarily indicate that there's not a sufficient quantity or quality of water. That's not what that means. It's just simply a standard that the township likes to put in as a warning clause, just to ensure that maybe there's people that come in and buy a place there that have a different expectation. They might be from the city and they might not fully understand what they're getting into with being on a well. And that's simply all it is.
Supplemental?
But the hydrogeological report said, well, first of all, one of the 5 test wells failed completely. There's another condition that they shouldn't put in heat pumps because of the water. And then they're recommending, if you run out of water, put in an expensive 1,000-liter tank for your water. Those alone, plus there was one well that tested with contamination from road salt, and the report said the remedy to that was drill another well. Yet these lots, all of the buildings are, because the lots have, especially along Siplin's, have a swath of swamplands, then a road to be built. All of the lots are very narrow. The houses are really close together. For the size of the lot, they might as well be a suburb. They're not going to have many options of where to drill a second well. I'm very concerned about this.
I could answer some of those questions, Mr. Mayor. Like the hydro-G said that the quantity is fine. I think it was just that in the event, and that's a typical clause or a typical response that's provided in a lot of Hydro-G comments for rural residential subdivisions. Use of a cistern in some cases, which is widely acceptable in rural areas. So it's not out of the ordinary to have that, but the bottom line is that the Hydro-G did show that there's a sufficient quantity. A lot of these things are just precautionary, but the results of that was that there is a sufficient quantity, and that was peer reviewed. That's just what I was reading. I'm not a hydrogeologist.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council?
If no one else does, I have...
Councillor Thompson?
One of the concerns people had was Anna Lake. This development on Rose Lane will have 6 properties with a communal access to waterfront on Anna Lake. There's going to be a parking lot down at the end, carving a bit of the land from one of the lots. And there is an old dock on that last parcel that's being called Parkland Water Access, but not a park. I don't quite understand that. So the residents are very concerned. They have an agreement where they won't put motorized or gas-powered boats on the lake. And there is the potential for all 6 residents, which will be large, I think, to be bought by a single single owner and used for short-term accommodations with access to a tiny lake. And even then, it'll be private property, but what's to keep other people from accessing that property once it's as a public park? I don't see anything in there. First of all, I don't think it should be 6 people. I think the last lot should own that waterfront. I think it'd be better for the developer is more likely to sell these lots if there isn't one, I don't know. He's not going to sell, can't see anyone buying a lot where you've got a parking lot in front of your house to access, and people will be coming up and down your road. Anyhow, one of the recommendations was to put it in the agreement that there is no boats or no gas-powered boats, and I don't see that there. Preferably, I think it would be 6 separate lots. Forget the... I know I'm rambling, but there's a whole lot that I need to talk about based on people's concerns that I share. So there's the access to a swamp. The road is between swamp and swamp. The dock that hasn't been considered in the report, the dock is decrepit, and it's long enough to almost reach the end of the weeds. To be usable as any kind of water access, that would need to be replaced. But all it says in the report is that we'd have to see if that can be done. We'd need a permit to change that dock. Yet that's a key part of this whole development, the Rose Lane, is that water access, but we don't know if they'll just have access to a swamp and a parking lot. So once again, I think it'd be better for the developer as well to either take out the communal access part, make it the homeowners at the end, their responsibility. I don't think this is suitable for the area. It's too many homes. It's putting a strain on the aquifer. It doesn't suit the lifestyle. And if there were fewer lots, not as close together, I think it would work. And it'd be better for the developer. I know we don't have final say on this, but I just want to be on record that I don't think we're addressing the homeowners' concerns properly in this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to address the boats on the water. That's at a higher level than government than we are or the county, being on the waterways. We don't regulate waterways, unfortunately. So, are there any other questions from council? Councillor Popke?
I just had a quick question regarding the section on Siplin's Road. Like Councillor Thompson mentioned before, they're proposing on building a new road on the easement on the backside of the lots closer to the swamp. And there's a perfectly good road on the other side with access to all 6 lots. So what's the purpose of building that brand new road? All they have to do is improve the one that's already existing.
Through the mayor, and maybe Kristen might be able to jump in here in terms of the background, but my understanding is that they can't access that road. They wouldn't be permitted to access that road because it's a private road.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So the complications with, adding on additional users to that private road is extremely complex and probably wouldn't work. So this is a viable option that they provided, and the road will be constructed to the township's private road standards and is subject to the mitigation requirements of the EIS. So it has to be a certain distance from that wetland. And I will say that those lots they're a bit larger than what you typically see. So there's suitable building envelopes on the west side of the private road to provide an envelope for the building and the septic and well.
Thank you. Councillor Tripp, you had a question?
More of an observation. It's I recognize lower tier that we provide our suggestions and input to county, but at times feeling a little helpless because we have conditions, we have things that we put forward, and it is within county's role to make the final decision. But there is concerns not just on this development, but throughout the township about managed growth. And we have very little say in that process at this point. I mean, operational plans and things going forward we're addressing. But it's very frustrating when we're seeing growth that is a bilateral decision, but being made unilaterally at the end by county. And when our voice and suggestions both from residents, but even in terms of our standard conditions, still be the potential of them being trumped by county. We don't have a lot of control on developments like this, and that's something I think that's a growing concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, discussion items from council? No, sorry, I have one that I'd like to bring up, and I know it's not going to affect the conditions of this development, but I just want us to think going forward is one of the clauses is in payment in lieu of parkland. And just as a staff and council, I'd like to perhaps see if we can create some policy or something going forward that I think it would be parkland is, we can get the money for parkland, but if we don't have any land to use the money on, we can't use it. So I think we need to look forward for future developments is trying to establish some sort of parkland, but so that we have it and then instead of lieu. Anyways, that's, I know it has nothing to do with this one, so.
Well, Mayor Weir, if I may, like you have the option of creating a parkland bylaw where you could set out sort of some parameters about when you would, sort of standards for either collecting the cash in lieu or actually looking for a physical dedication.
Yeah, thank you. As I say, I knew it wasn't directly at this one, but I just wanted to bring it forward for people to think it over. Thank you. If we have no more questions, do we need the resolution read again, or are we okay? Hang on. All in favor? Opposed? That is 3-2. Motion carried. We'll now move on to section 10, 10.1. Finance Administration Department, Communications Survey Results.
Oh, no, no. So you just high level.
Just hit your microphone.
So as per the strategic plan that we have been working on, one of the items that was kind of highlighted in there was communication issues throughout the township. In order to try to mitigate this, we went out with a communication survey to try to determine how residents best felt that they would receive information throughout the township. We had 84 participants, which was decent participation. One of the ways that they said that they did prefer obtaining their information was the website. 36.9% rely on the website, with 34.52% following us on social media. We are looking into future options for communication within the township, one of which would be an email newsletter, which 72% of respondents felt would be useful. So this is something that we are looking to tackle in 2025. And in 2024, we've been putting a strong focus on communication through our different platforms and trying to engage more with the community. And we've seen a great response with increased followers on social media platforms, our website, and other stuff like that. So it's been a positive response that way. So that's something that we're going to want to focus on in 2025.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments from council? Councillor Levesque.
Thank you, Jenna. That was really well done and interesting responses. I got a few questions, but one of them was with the QR code. Were you able to judge or determine how many people responded through the QR code from the survey?
Unfortunately, we were not able to determine that through this survey. It was hard with the answers kind of to determine what led them to answer the communication survey, as it was on the website,
Right.
social media, and mail out. We do feel like the mail out was kind of 50-50 in there. A lot of people ask for the mail outs, but then they tend to get missed in there. So I think a lot of it came from online as well.
Right. I'm curious as well, sorry.
Supplemental?
I'm curious as well, from the newsletters that were sent out with the QR code, did we get any responses via QR code with that?
So the QR code essentially just led you to the website on there, so it's hard to determine whether or not it was scanned or whether or not they used the link on there. I think we received a couple hard copies of the newsletter back, but I think maybe under 5 in total.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Levesque.
Just a couple. I think overall, just to, I guess for you and everybody else, and I'm sure you know this as well, but no communication medium fits everybody, right? We know that. Some people like email, some people, in fact, we haven't even mentioned telephone here, where we say in some cases, I've seen where some townships and municipalities use telephone survey type of thing, hit 5 for this or 6 for this or whatever. So we know that it's always going to be a challenge, no matter where you are and no matter what your region looks like. I will say that the responses around the electronic sign as well as the app, I was surprised about the app that many people were looking for an app. So that's good to see. And then I guess the electronic sign, same thing there. Sometimes people don't realize what the electronic signboards can do for them until they actually see it in action. So sometimes it's easy for me to say, no, I don't think we need it, but yet when it's available, it could be a different story. So it's just an interesting response, and that's a snapshot in time, but and I think things are going to evolve over the next couple of years for sure. But thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from council? Councillor Thompson.
This is good. This is one of the things we want to do, is have better, improve our communication with people. And I found it interesting, the range of answers from you're wonderful, you're doing your best, you're great stuff, to you're not at all transparent. It's like we're trying to be, we need to know how to get to you. But that shows the difficulty of what you're trying to achieve. And even then, I've heard that even then, once you mail out to people, they don't want your junk mail, so you really, it's going to be a tough one, and I'm glad you're working on it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Tripp.
And just to supplemental to what Councillor Thompson said, in your report, you talk about lower than anticipated. It was a low number, so we have to take that data in consideration with the 85 responses, or 84 responses, but 84 responses is the start. And I think going out a second time in the spring when people are back from their southern or to their warm climates, you may see another set of responses coming back when people are starting to get engaged and our population is back. So I wouldn't be discouraged with the low number, but I would caution the responses based on that number may not be reflective of the population. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
I would also like to add that this is a very unique township, as you've probably already figured out. In the West End, at least most of the West End, there's very limited Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi cell service. And not everyone has a mailbox here. So there is still an old-fashioned way that people depend on, especially, people going to the campgrounds, posters in the general store, the grocery stores. We don't have many stores in where I am, or at the community centers as well. But that's what people rely on. If they're there for the weekend, they find out what's going on next weekend when they get something at the store. So I would instantly, like right now, start you doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Councillor Levesque?
Just the last point, I know, although there's only two, but we did talk about it in the beginning of the election, is the use of a town hall format. And that wouldn't be, and sometimes it was translated to, well, maybe we should do council meetings in other areas. And that's not really what they're referring to. They're talking about a town hall format where people can come, council can present to them where things are at, the things we're learning, and so on. And people have an opportunity to ask questions. So that might be something we may want to consider as council as a really good outreach opportunity. So just more of a comment.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Tripp.
That model does work. We've used it in certain pockets within the area when we've been asked to come out, and at summer barbecues, it's worked quite well as well, just to share information and also hear information back. But it's an exciting path forward for you.
Councillor Thompson.
And to build on that, our population quadruples in the summer. So if we're going to get community engagement in the summer on a weekend is when we'll get them, not in the middle of winter during the week. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? There are none seen. Thank you very much, Jenna, for that. And we'll take that as information. And now we'll move on to 10.2, which is I've been very much looking forward to, is the 2024 year in review presentation. And who is taking the lead? Renee, our CAO, will start us off.
So this would be the first year we've tried this, basically a template for the year in review, just to really celebrate what everybody's been doing within the township council staff and go through some of those items and where we're at, not necessarily as a comparison, but building some form of reporting that over the years we'll be able to see progression. So we have been working towards our strategic plan goals for the 2023 to 2026 strategic plan. So the focus on a daily basis here has been the accountability, transparency, respect, innovation, and sustainability as part of our values. And then our strategic priorities remain as open communication engagement, growth management, culture and wellness, and efficient and effective governance. So throughout the next few slides, which will be small here, but we'll be posting online, is more of the up-to-date status for key initiatives for 2024 as part of the goals and objectives for the strategic plan. It'll provide a status update for 2024 and really it would be a progression step to a few items down the 2025 strategic plan key initiatives. So you'll see a few, and I'll scroll through a few where we have in progress, we're initiating. So we have open communication and engagement, which we just discussed. We're initiating some items within the growth management in 2025. So you won't see any initiatives in 2024, but they'll progress into 2025. And then we have some completed items, licensing for short-term accommodations, for example, going into the new year. So the licensing bylaw was passed. We had the communication, our marketing strategy, building relationships with businesses, and so on. So again, we have a few items here you'll see, they were added this year. So we have additions to the strategic plan through 2024, which is the Village and Waterfront Development Plan, Planning Review Options, Alternative Recreational Trail Review, and Land Acquisition Review. A lot of them will be progress into next steps into 2025. Culture and Wellness, there's been the striking of the committees, or the rec committee, and then a few other items here. So I'll just kind of... And same with asset management plan. We've done some progression steps and we're working towards a finance strategy, and then lots of updates to policies and bylaws. So within governance, so we split these as departments, departmental. The governance piece, we have council. It's more than just, the attendance of meetings. We just kind of want to highlight that we had, council had 18 special and regular council meetings, 6 public meetings, and acting as a committee of adjustment, council has attended 6 committee of adjustment meetings. You've reviewed 121 staff reports and received 9 delegations to council and 10 presentations to council, as well as passed 63 bylaws. We had a support delegation from Ministry of Finance at the AMO conference for short-term accommodations, as well as council is representative on 6 committees and boards. So we have them listed there. Through the county, the mayor attends and participates in 4 different committees. Throughout council, you've attended 40 plus community events, and then there's additional training here for conferences and training. So they include Roma, AMO, and really learnings for council to bring it into when we're working at council with different priorities. And then I'm going to flip this over to finance and admin.
So a lot of exciting things happened in the finance area over the last year. We had the conversion to the new financial software system. It was a success, and we're running live with the program. We have new and updated financial policies to increase financial accountability and sustainability. So we've brought forward a procurement policy, a debt management policy, an asset retirement obligation policy, municipal grant policy, and employee and council expense policy. Our agreement with Schooling Mitchell for a cost service review for savings is well underway now, so we're hoping to find the results of that and hopefully see some savings. We joined the Canoe Procurement Group, cooperative purchasing, to help obtain competitive pricing on our supplies that we purchase. We brought forward biannual financial updates. We are trying to improve on the communication aspect. We created a where do your property tax dollars go to communicate with residents the impact of their tax dollar. And we enhanced the 2024 budget package, increasing communication, transparency, and accountability. This was probably one of a lot of great feedback we've got from this illustration, outlining where every tax dollar goes. 42 cents support township services, 39 cents support county services, 14 support school boards, and 5 cents to the Ontario Provincial Police. We processed payments and responded to 3,982 properties. And moving on to administration, there was 20 commission of oaths processed for MIFIPA requests, initiatives, bylaws available to public on portal, monthly council highlights posted for the public, and continuous website updates. We had 4 community engagement surveys, communication and engagement survey, a marketing strategy survey, a local official plan survey, and a short-term accommodation survey. And we also created a newly designed newsletter to inform the public on surveys, public meetings, and open houses. So under concerns and requests for services, there are 361 concerns, inquiries, and requests for services that are broken down as per the chart. The majority you will see will be related to parking tickets, followed by animal services. And we'll move on to protective services.
Yeah, so Greater Madawaska has made some big changes this year. We've added a new full-time fire chief. That's me, in case you weren't aware. We've also added 6 new recruits, totaling 30 volunteer firefighters. Over the course of the year, we have a total of 1,282 response hours and 1,959 training hours across the board. Some of the training we've completed includes an SP 103 wildland firefighting course, which is a full weekend course the entire department attended. 2 members completed the NFPA 1002 pump operations course. This is a 40-hour course and benefits our fire scenes. We have added 7 new DZ drivers to the roster, and 17 firefighters have completed their Fire 1 certifications. As a group, we've been working hard to complete Firefighter 2 certifications in-house. This includes training in extrication, building collapse, fire origin, pre-incident planning, and various aspects of fire prevention. We've deployed new programs, including a smoke alarm inspection program. This will be coming out in the new year. We have also started working with a new program called Firehouse Manager. This will keep track of our maintenance, training, and equipment expirations. Our call volume has increased this year, as did many surrounding departments. Unfortunately, we have seen a large increase in MVCs, motor vehicle collisions, and rescues in the area. Greater Madawaska Fire Department has kept busy in the community this year. We've attended and hosted multiple community events in Calabogie and Griffith. We spent a day during Fire Prevention Week with the students at St. Joseph Catholic School, where we were able to pass along fire education to 76 students. In addition to this day, we followed up with the school and hosted a pizza party for the students, thanking them for completing their fire escape plans with their families. Emergency management. So this year, the emergency control group and all supporting staff conducted a tabletop wildfire exercise in order to keep our emergency management plans and skills in top condition. We also secured an emergency preparedness grant, which funded the purchase of 2 new enclosed trailers for wildfire incidents and 18 handheld radios. It has been a big year, and I'd like to thank my Greater Madawaska firefighters for all their time and effort they put into the community.
Moving on to Public Works. Steve, you have the floor.
So Public Works completed all their capital projects this year, plus we did some other road improvements as well. Fraser Road was a capital project. It was completed earlier in the summer, and then we moved to Madawaska Road, which it was completed somewhere in the end of September. And then we moved into, we did some more ditching on Madawaska Road, and then moved to Frontenac Road and did some more ditching there as well, some culverts that were in rough shape, and we did some on Fraser Road as well on the gravel portion. There was some very bad culverts and some ditching that was required there from previous spring drainage was a problem. Hudson Lake was finished up as well, the surface treatment. That was from 2023. It got too late that fall to put it down, so this past summer we finished Hudson Lake surface treatment. Taddy Hill has been a couple-year project. We had some drainage issues and had to put some sub-drain in, and we left it a year to make sure it was settled and everything was working properly before we finished the surface treatment on Taddy Hill as well, but it got completed this year. And last year we done a bunch of work on Southside Way, ditching wise and culverts, and 2024 we budgeted the 1,000 ton of gravel for Southside Way, and that was applied there. Also, there was some gravel put on Grant Road and Ashdad Road and Canally Mountain through the tender process. So the road construction was all completed internally by the skilled public works staff. It was resulted in cost savings up to the township up to 50% less than the contracted services. Some of the maintenance stuff we've done also this year was a big one is a gravel road, the grading of the gravel roads and putting calcium down where needed. We replaced a pile of old signage that was very in rough shape. Last winter, when the guys were not snow plowing, they were doing some tree removal and brushing on Church Farm Road. It was a very brushed in area that needed to be worked on. We did some cold patching all summer with our summer student. He did a good job of that. And we replaced a bunch of guardrail posts on Hydro Dam Road. They were just old and rotten posts, so we replaced a pile of those. We got line painting done this year on Madawaska Road, Bear Chute, Flat Road, Mount St. Patrick. And the new crushed rock that we had done this year was the first time we've done that, and it worked out very well for a lot of small roads and bad weather days when we couldn't do other projects. We could haul gravel at least, and got a lot of these small roads that don't usually see the gravel because it's usually trucked in and bigger belly dumps that can't get into these roads. So we've done a lot of that this year. It worked out very well. And then we also worked on the Black Donald Pit expansion as well this year. We also added there's a lot of work that comes through the garage, Public Works garage, for just equipment maintenance, like annual safety inspections. There's 5 tandem plow trucks, 7 half tons to be safety, 8 fire trucks, a roll-off truck, the trailers for the roll-off truck or float, and then there's just 32 township-owned equipment that just maintenance-wise too, and it all has to be scheduled in, and it's an extra load as well on Public Works.
Thank you. Thank you. Environmental, Leonard?
Yeah, so we entered into a contract with Circle Materials this year to take over recycling. Food cycle program was completed. Selling, start possessing and then selling all the equipment.
Oh, microphone, thank you. Voice from above, thank you.
Okay.
Ignore that, we'll start again.
All right, we'll start over. Take 2. So we entered into a contract with Circle Materials to take over the recycling end of our waste site depots, which will start July 1st. Food cycle program, which was quite well. We only ended up with 1 grinder left over after everybody purchased. And in public education, we do our annual community cleanup week, which is usually a pretty good success with the schools, and a lot of groups take part in that. And then if we look down at the diversion from Norrie Lake for our collection and waste and collection and recycling, it's been staying pretty steady across the board over the last couple of years. So we do find that a lot of the community members are doing a good job of recycling in those areas. And then we move into facilities and grounds. So for this past summer, we've performed maintenance over 25 properties. And this summer was quite busy with, as everyone knows, the grass never stopped growing this year. So the guys went steady with mowing the lawns. And then in the wintertime, we look after 14 municipal facilities for salting and snow removal. And then we also perform maintenance activities on 19 buildings. And we also look after 5 of the trail systems. And speaking of the trail system, I also want to put a shout out to all the volunteers. Like, we have a lot of volunteers that do a lot of work on the trails. They do a lot of the small brushing and trail marking, and we communicate well with them, and they come to us when they have bigger items need to be done, logger trees or danger trees. So it works out well with the community on that. And we updated our 5-year energy plan. Our buildings are all in pretty good shape on that plan. There's a few little areas we have to work on, but other than that, we're in pretty good shape. We did some security some bit of renovations to the front desk area. We did a little bit of work at the Lions Hall, countertops and stuff, a closet for their bingo machine and some more storage. And a few other little things, the boat ramp at Barnett's, improvement there with the second ramp and a new dock. We also put some new lighting in Barnett Cottage, just for energy efficiencies again, and just better lighting atmosphere. The pickleball courts, we did get some money from a grant or a donation, which helped out really good on that to help us put the extra courts and the extra nets. And then the baseball with new bleachers at the ball field, which helped a lot this year when they had the tournament. They all got filled up, which was great to see. And Ginger Rink, with the pickleball being there in the summertime, we put in an outdoor bathroom, which actually we got the building from Sullivan's Construction when they did the dam project. They donated it to us, so we converted it into a washroom. So, and then we also did some new privacy fencing and a bit of cleanup around the rink area just for in the future for renting it for weddings and other functions. We had one wedding there this summer, which was a good success. The people really enjoyed it, so we're hoping to get more of that in the incoming year.
Thank you. Planning and development. Tracy there? Or are you Kristen? Oh, Kristen's doing it. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to think we were fairly busy this year. So we finally passed our new township zoning bylaw, which was a project that's been ongoing for the last 3 years. Some of the notable additions included reducing the dwelling unit sizes to permit the construction of smaller homes. With the support of our consultants, we also completed several public engagement initiatives through the survey and open houses to gain feedback from our residents on the possibility of implementing some local official plan policies specific to our township. Additionally, we've helped support the implementation of our short-term accommodation bylaw, which is set to be in effect in 2025, so looking forward to that. Additionally, we've also helped support, or I should say taken on, the role of helping with the Black Donald Pit expansion, which is currently also in progress, and the supporting studies are just being finalized with the hope to start public consultation and our formal application to the ministry in the new year. Additionally, application-wise, we do have, to date, 15 consent applications, 9 of which are for the creation of new lots. I am expecting to receive some more by the end of this year. We've also completed 2 zoning amendments, 7 minor variance applications, and a couple of development agreements associated with conditions of consent of minor variance. And then on top of that, we've also done a couple pre-consultations for some possible future development, and council has also endorsed draft conditions for 2 plans of subdivisions. And we have also done a couple road assumption bylaws this year as well that has included us assuming close to 17 acres of road that we did not previously own. That's it for me.
Building, Chris.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just jump back up. There was 2 points that Kristen didn't touch on because it more relates to the building end of things. So this was our first full year using the City Reporter, the electronic software. So that's how we issue our permits. Kristen inputs all the information in there, and then all my inspections are done through that as well, and it works very well. And then we've also started a new, well, not really, it's a way of filing old building permits or the building permits from past years and septic permits by property roll number, just so they're easier to track. It's a much more efficient way of finding old permits, and it will help even for septic record checks and stuff like that. So it's going to be a slow process because there's years and years of permits, and it's kind of a thing that I can do when I'm not quite so busy. And then as far as permit wise, you can see there's 91 building permits issued with 47 septic permits, only 2 orders issued, which is good. So most people are generally in compliance, or you can get them in compliance. And along with the building permits, 472 inspections were conducted. And you can see that the revenues have been increased, but as you've seen in past council reports, that's due to The fees have been increased for this year, and that's the reason for that, as well as the development charges, because the development charges do increase every year, and that's why you'll see the increase there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Community services.
I'll touch briefly on community services. So we, council initiated the new Recreation and Culture Committee. So they had put out a survey, had 215 participate in the survey. Recently had the activity showcase businesses and community groups participants. They had 15 of those. Summer camps were started again. So we had summer camps registrations of 12, 22 soccer registration participants, and 37 skating program registrations. Other initiatives include weekly recreational activities are happening. They're being posted on our Facebook to really promote activities in the community. Cleanup day, and then the new pickleball courts and equipment were recommended by the committee. Also, the Canada Day committee was really successful. We brought in the Lumberjacks show, which was new, also with new sponsorship. The Canada Day committee brought in new sponsorship approaches or opportunities and t-shirts, and then there was an attendance of over 2,000 people attending Canada Day. As for community volunteers, we spent some time celebrating the volunteers within their community, which really contribute to some of the activities that we have. We also awarded the Volunteer of the Year to Kim Rakowski for all the time she puts into volunteering in the community. Council, through supporting community groups, waived fees for waives automatically fees for the Calabogie 55 Plus Club for the use of Barnett Cottage and the community hall, as well as waived the fees for the Calabogie Market to use the rink for the summer. Grants were provided to Remembrance Day, and the DACA and Madawaska Hall receives a grant for operations as well as Canada Day. Greater Madawaska Public Library and Learning Center also receives an annual grant to operate. And then there's a partnership with Griffith and Calabogie Lions Club for building use to provide community activities.
Thank you. Community development. That'd be Jenna.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'd like to say that it's been a very exciting and busy 10 months. I think today is actually my 10-month anniversary today, actually. So it feels like a lot has happened in the past 10 months. But I started out jumping into the marketing strategy, which had already been initiated, which really helped us to determine the path that we wanted to take with the rebranding. We used a lot of the community and stakeholder feedback in order to determine the direction for the rebrand. And in the marketing strategy, we kind of highlighted 3 prioritized goals: the rebrand, accessible wayfinding, and definitive messaging. And those were the 3 things that we really wanted to focus on, in addition to building better relationships with the business community. The logo and rebranding was a very exciting project. We can officially say that is concluded, which is very exciting. Commenced in April. Once the marketing strategy had concluded, we took a lot of the design ideas from the community and stakeholder feedback with the goal of incorporating as many beloved aspects of Greater Madawaska as possible, which I think we were fairly successful in doing. The colors were derived from natural landscapes and features of Greater Madawaska, highlighted through the photos on our social media platforms. And the result, we would like to think, is a dynamic logo that tells the story of Greater Madawaska and a comprehensive brand guideline to be used for all promotional materials and communications going forward. One of the other areas that we determined was the accessible wayfinding. So within my first couple of months here, I had applied for a RED grant, and we were actually successful in obtaining this, which is very exciting. So we've started working on initial designs, and so we can obtain some preliminary pricing for the signage, and that will allow us to build a budget. So you can see some of the ideas that we've been working on in here, one of the main ones being a large sign when you first come into Calabogie that kind of directs you to some of the different areas that we would like people to explore more of. trailhead signs, stuff that really highlights the different hiking trails and other amenities, trying to show people that there's more to Calabogie than just Eagle's Nest. There's much more to explore in Greater Madawaska. We have a lot of beautiful trails. So we're working with community members, people who are very involved in trails, and we're going to be looking for council input and stuff like that as well on sign locations. The Business Spotlight Initiative is one of my favorite projects that I've taken on so far here. When I began this role, I was met with a lot of warnings as far as you are going to have to build better relationships within the community. A little scary walking into some of the businesses when that's your warning, but I feel like it was really well received out here. I didn't meet with anyone who was openly hostile or anything. They were all very excited to see the new direction that the township was taking, especially with having a position here that now allows for more open communication with businesses, more support for them. So one of the ways that I wanted to do that was creating the Business Spotlight Initiative. So I've now met with over 17 business owners. It's actually 12 business spotlights now. We just ran another one last night, but I didn't want to make you redo your presentation. So we did just run another one last night. I've got another 6 in the works right now, and I've been speaking with many more of the local businesses out here. They're very excited. It's been nice to talk to them and see what they feel is lacking out here. It's also led to a lot more social media presence from some local businesses, and I've seen some partnerships come into play since some of these meetings, which has been incredibly exciting. So I'm going to continue working on that, trying to encourage cross-promotion and more working relationships with everybody out here. The next slide is the businesses that we've highlighted so far, and all of them, like I said, have been really great to work with, very excited, and they're excited to do more. So that has been really, really great to see and building some positivity out here. I also got to work on reestablishing some relationships that had kind of gone to the wayside, one of them being Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. They have been a huge source of support for our business spotlights, a lot of our photo drives and stuff like that were being shared across their pages. Our photos are being featured on their website as of now, so it's been really exciting. We also were successful in applying for a professional photo shoot through the OVTA, so we now have 150 professional photos taken at locations across the township. So we now own those in our catalog, and they're also being featured on other tourism platforms across the county as well. There's a couple events this year, Ottawa Valley Tourism, AGM and Conference, the Renfrew and Area Chamber of Commerce, ACTIV, Update, Breakfast, Networking event, and we hosted a small business month workshop out here that was actually very well attended. We had 18 participants come out and take part in it, and that was hosted through Community Futures Development Corporation and Enterprise Renfrew County in partnership with Town of Arnprior. So that was really fun as well, and it's been great to see people getting out into the township. This one here is the photo drive that we did out here that I mentioned in the last slide. So we have a ton of different photos. Some of these were actually submitted from people within the area. So we have the catalog done professionally. A lot of these are taken from people once I started doing the promotion out there and asking people to submit their favorite photos. We were tagged in photos, linked in photos, and people were emailing them and messaging them to me directly. So we have a huge catalog now of ones that have been taken, and they've been really, really well received as well, which has been exciting, and watching them shared across the county has been pretty awesome as well. Social media communications, I touched on this earlier about the communication surveys. So we know the respondents and what they're looking for there, and the goal for 2025. Strengthening our online presence has been really successful this year as well. You can see some of the different comments that have either been posted on our photos or personal messages that have come through with compliments on our social media pages and stuff. 2 of those photos have been highlighted on the Ottawa Valley Tourism Association, the 2 on the bottom right, which is nice. So they actually post it, tag it, use our quotes, and it stays on their website as well. So that's been really neat. And these are the stats for the increases that we've seen since I started on here, which has been really positive to see as well. We're getting a lot more communications with people, a lot more interactions, and a lot more followers. So we're not as stagnant as we used to be before. People really respond to the nice photos, the local photos that are being submitted, nice stories about local businesses. So it's getting more attention to the important notices that we're putting out there, because people aren't scrolling past our posts anymore. This here is with websites, most visited website pages, and where most of our active users are located in here. So obviously things to do, transfer stations, fire department was another big one. And we do have future plans as to kind of reevaluate what you're going to put on the website as far as like little widgets that will take you directly to fire ban information and, council portal and stuff like that. So people don't have to go searching for it. And yeah, that's my piece.
So that concludes the departmental report. I mean, I want to thank everybody here for everything you do and everybody on your team. We've completed and accomplished a lot for a small team, and it's pretty awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Or applause?
Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion items from council? Councillor Levesque.
I think on behalf of everybody here, but it's phenomenal. The presentation and having all this in one place is fantastic. And I know it took a lot of work to pull it all together. The presentation, the content, the quality is right up there with a lot of corporations that I've worked with. So I'm going to hats off to all of you for doing this. And it's really, really helpful. And we're really going to encourage other people out there to view it because it really helps get your message out there. I can't tell you how many times, it doesn't matter how many times you say something, people always say, what do I get for my taxes? And they even though you tell them, but this is a really good pictorial of what is really happening behind the scenes. And thank you all for doing that. And thank all of your staff for pulling it all together as well, because this is certainly a village, and you certainly can't do it on your own. But thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson. Oh, Councillor Tripp.
I echo what Jeff just said. This is a new team for most of us around the table, and it's unbelievable how well you've gelled and worked together, the collaborative, just in the report, but beyond the report, the work you do as a team is outstanding. So it's nice to see such a new group come together so quickly and deliver a year like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Absolutely wonderful. I echo everyone's thoughts on it. Another thing it does is it brings back, it puts in one place all the things that are going on. So as we were going through it, I was thinking, oh yeah, what happened with that? Oh, that got complete, sorry. It's really good for us to have, as well as the rest of the staff to have, because you can see what everybody else is doing, and it not that you have many silos. This is a pretty cohesive group, but you can work with blinders on one way, and then you see it all put together, and you go, look what we are doing. So I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? No. I'd just like to say from council, and I think it's already been echoed, is you guys are doing an amazing job. You're working so well together from every position, every job role, and you'll always see each other. When I walk in here, I hear the laughter. I hear people talking to each other. It's an environment where things grow. Nobody's afraid to make a suggestion. Everybody's input is valued. And I just really enjoy walking in and watching you all work together as a group from all your staff. So thank you. I greatly appreciate this presentation. I think it's the first year that we've done it. And I know I've gone through an exercise like this back in my corporate days, and people would come to me and said, yeah, I really didn't want to do that for you, but wow, I actually do a lot more stuff than I thought I did. And you're actually taking your own mind back going, wow, yeah, I did that too. Oh yeah, I did that. Or this is part of my daily routine. And sometimes it just twigs to you that you're doing much more than you actually think you're doing because it falls into a routine. So I thank you for all the work you're doing. Thanks. One other, is this going to be posted on our website so that public can look at it? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. I am going to suggest, because I think we probably have a fair amount of people that would like to stand up and go home, Should we take a 5-minute break before we go into the budget? Council? Yeah, okay, we'll do a 5-minute break. That'll let staff that don't need to stay can head out. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. We will now move on to Finance Administration Department, Section 10.3, 2025 Budget Deliberations. Jennifer?
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we are back at the table to talk about the 2025 budget. Tonight I'm going to bring forward to you the deliberations and summary.
There we go.
So on November 13th, the 2025 draft budget was presented to Council for consideration. The draft budget included a 6.14% municipal tax rate increase. However, since the November 13th budget meeting, staff have revealed an additional CVA value that increases our revenues by $19,439, resulting in a decrease to the municipal tax rate from 6.14 to a 5.69%. The proposed municipal tax rate will address the township's operational needs and support our growth, management, and strategic planning initiatives. This tax rate also allows the township to maintain essential services and infrastructure while preparing for future development and sustainability. So we're going to walk through the highlights of the budget. So the 2025 draft budget operating and capital, there was $7 million operating budget presented with a $2.5 million capital budget for a total of a $9.5 million budget. Summarizing our achieving our strategic goals, key highlights on how the budget has been carefully drafted with our operational demands and long-term strategic goals are summarized below. So under sustainable and responsible growth, we've modernized and streamlined processes by implementing an online financial platform for residents. We're regulating short-term accommodations with the implementation of short-term accommodation licensing. Under developing a township brand and marketing strategy, we have wayfinding signage through the Red Grant while enhancing tourism and attracting people to support our business community. We're improving the health and well-being services offered to residents to align with our community needs by contributing to a health services reserve and providing a renovation to the food bank. And we're providing efficient and effective governments by responding to and planning for future infrastructure needs by increased contribution to reserves. To summarize our 2025 municipal pressures, the 2025 draft budget process for operating capital was particularly challenging due to several financial pressures as presented and summarized below. Our policing contract, our police services board, mandatory fire regulations, hazmat training, increased insurance costs, a lack of infrastructure funding grants versus infrastructure needs, and continued and growing contribution to our asset management funding gap. To review back what a municipal tax, the municipal tax revenue impact when considering a tax rate increase, it is important to recognize that a 1% tax increase for residents results in revenues of $42,604 for the township. Following the initial budget presentation, updated current CVA revealed the additional $19,439 in revenue. As a result, staff were able to decrease the proposed 6.14% tax increase to a 5.69 municipal tax rate increase. The following chart shows the impact on a ratepayer depending on the assessed value of their home at this new rate. So if you have an assessed value of $200,000, your annual increase would be $54.96. There was a provincial update released on Friday, November 29th, that the township received confirmation from the province for financial relief in the value of $122,403, bringing the total police services expenses from $853,000 to $730,000 approximately. While this assistance will provide relief, if applied in the year 2025, it is important to note that increasing expenses for future years will still remain. So as a result, staff are recommending that these funds be directed to an operating reserve for levy stabilization, helping to manage and mitigate future financial pressures. So council were encouraged to submit questions and comments to staff during the period of November 13th to November 28th. The responses to questions were forwarded to council and attached to the report to council for this meeting, if anybody would like to reference them. A summary of the capital request during the deliberation period. So during the deliberation period, several capital requests were asked. There was an ask for a digital sign to increase enhanced communication with residents. The sign would serve as a key communication tool to keep residents and visitors informed about local events, safety, emergency management, and other important information. A digital sign would also play an active role engaging community and fostering a more connected community. So the estimated one-time fee for sign installation would be $35,000 to $45,000. The annual maintenance fee is estimated to be approximately $500. Should council wish to avoid impacting reserve fund for this proposal, staff will monitor grant funding opportunities that may be available to support the project. There were asked for portable washrooms to enhance services and quality of life. So providing portable washrooms at Centennial Lake or Highland Creek trailheads. These installations would improve convenience and accessibilities for residents and visitors while supporting the sustainability and enjoyment of these recreational areas. The approximate one-time installation cost of something like this would be $5,000 per washroom with an estimated annual maintenance fee of $8,000. There were docks, docks to enhance service and quality of life, proposal to install a dock on Calabogie Lake at Madawaska Street and or Centennial Lake area, Griffith area. If chosen as an option to proceed, staff recommend in front of St. Andrew's Church on Madawaska Street as a safer location than where the dock historically was prior to removal. The one-time installation fees vary on location and requirement, and they range from $12,000 to $24,000. The ongoing maintenance cost, depending on location, however, they are estimated at $9,000. So a summary of the changes. Since we first met around the table, the municipal tax rate has been amended from 6.14% to 5.69%. In the 2025 budget, we increased for $24,000 for a dock at Madawaska Street, it says Centennial Lake Boat Launch. It should be Centennial Lake area, Griffith area. The docks will be funded by the development charge. And the 2025 reserve schedules have been updated to reflect a $24,000 contribution to capital from the development charge reserve. So our next steps, if council is satisfied with the proposed budget we have brought forward, a bylaw is available this afternoon. However, if more time or discussion is needed, staff will bring forward a revised budget to special meeting of council. And this completes the presentation, and I'm ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, concerns, discussion items from council? Councillor Thompson.
Hi, thank you. I'm curious about what the $9,000 maintenance is on a $24,000 yearly maintenance on a dock. It sounds like a lot of money.
So for example, if we put a dock at Centennial Lake, we have to travel to do inspections because with the insurance companies, they want us to inspect these docks like almost daily for liability. So that's a big cost because we only make one trip to Griffith a week, normally do grass and do a cleaning up there. So that would add extra trips, which means manpower, vehicle, and fuel. So that's kind of how that number came up. To kind of justify, like for the distance, right? It's just the travel time. That's.
Okay, and then the second, so if there's also an $8,000 a year maintenance on a washroom, if we put a washroom at the same location.
Sorry, so if both were there, then that number would come together. It'd be the same. Yeah, so the number is for just that trip to get there and clean the washroom and inspect the dock. So if you put a dock and a washroom, your maintenance for the year would still only be the number of $8,000 to $9,000 in the budget to actually clean the bathroom, inspect the dock, do any repairs to the dock for the year.
Okay. So then to get a washroom, I'm not quite sure whether they're talking about the Centennial Lake boat launch or the street.
Well, the number for the maintenance is based on the location, more or less. So for a dock at on Madawaska Street, it wouldn't be that high because we're right here, correct? So we wouldn't have that kind of money to maintain a dock. We still have to do inspection, but it wouldn't be, it's based on the travel time to Centennial Lake is what most of what the cost is.
Okay. I did ask two questions at once.
Sorry.
But, if we had a washroom and a dock at the same location, you're saying it wouldn't double?
No, it wouldn't double, no.
And then the next question was, where are we proposing to put the dock?
So, so my apologies, there was some confusion there. We had originally talked about the Centennial Lake boat launch. However, there needs to be further investigation into that area. So right now, generally up in the Centennial Lake, Griffith area, something to benefit the community up in that area. So we haven't found, we'd have to research what would be a suitable location, but one dock would be up for that location and then one down for the lower Calabogie area.
Okay.
And I'll just, sorry to add to that, so when looking at in GIS, there's just a portion of that boat launch that's owned by the township and another portion that's not owned by the township, and that's where so we felt that at this time, if council were to consider that, then we need to further investigate it. So if you were considering to approve the budget with adding a dock, then we would still be pursuing this, but we need more time to look into it and where to put it.
Okay, so I think we need a washroom at the Centennial Lake boat launch. Whether or not we get a dock there, whether the dock goes there or not, I think we're desperate for it. It's the only public washroom, other than, I just found out, at the Ginza rink. I would like to see that put back in if it's only going to be $5,000 and no $9,000 or $8,000 a year maintenance extra.
So that would depend on the usage, to how often it have to be cleaned. So we'd have to kind of put it in and kind of see where it goes. I mean, that's, because I mean, put a public washroom in, we have to maintain it to a standard. So that's so it's hard for me to give a number on that. I mean, until we do it. And in the summertime, there is the odd time we make an extra trip there that we could do it without having that extra expense. But so yeah. So the 5,000 on the washroom would be, that's my staff building the washroom and placing the washroom on the location. And then the extra cost would be the toilet paper and that sort of thing. Like, for example, Eagle's Nest, we spend $2,000 a year on toilet paper. But that's a busy location.
Is that for the Bears?
Okay, so I'm still not clear. I know. Sorry.
So what it is, right now, we have proposed a budget with the consideration that with the requests provided by councillors, the two docks we've seen docks a few times, so it was an opportunity to really consider this. When it comes to the bathroom, like Leonard mentioned, that they build in-house, that $5,000 is that. If council were to want that, and that was the only adjustment today, then we could consider how we can fund some of it for supplies into this year and work it through. So if that was, depending on how the council's wishes, this could be a consideration, considering we'd already be going there for the dock to begin with. Okay?
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Popke.
Do you have a particular style of dock in mind? Because on Centennial Lake, for example, the water fluctuates pretty frequently. I've seen it 3 feet low in June. So you get a fixed dock, like an aluminum dock, it's going to be 3 feet out of the water, which makes it that much more unsafe for people to use, or harder for them to use. Yet you get a big floating dock, which will go with the water levels. It's a lot harder to remove and install and look after. So I was just sort of curious there.
Yeah, so for insurance purposes to do with liability, the floating dock is more of an issue because for stability. So we had a couple of issues with people falling on the dock and getting injured. So that's why we went to the solid dock to get away from the movement for liability issues. So yeah, that is a concern with that spot due to the fact that there is a fluctuation in water levels. So it's either we have to try and put this dock in and put it at the right level that it's going to equal out, but that's something that has to come into consideration when we go to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Levesque.
A few questions, thank you, Mayor. First of all, the docks, I think that's great, and thank you for that. And I guess back to the point of the floating versus whatever, you guys can figure out what that means. I mean, I don't think we get as much fluctuation here on this end as you probably do on the other end. The washrooms, a question on the washrooms, and no offense, just curious. If we looked at porta potty scenario versus fixed washrooms and increased costs and just.
So we did do porta potties before, and the cost of them was working out to have them pumped and have them cleaned, and then just the rental on them was like almost $200 a month. So then with these regular washrooms, they're there permanently. So it's a cost of $5,000 up front, but then it's only cost us $80 to have them pumped, and we pump them once a month at Eagle's Nest. Now, Steniel Lake or other low areas that don't get as much use, they wouldn't need to be pumped as often. So for the long-term forecast, it's a lot cheaper for the municipality to go with the route that we're going with these other washrooms.
Okay, thank you. Clarification on the digital signage. So the initial thought was that there would be 3 signs, one in Dacre, one in Madawaska area, and then the other in Calabogie. But it looks like this is referring to one sign, and it doesn't say where. So I just get clarification on that.
Yeah, so basically, when council made a capital request, we're trying to provide you with the information on how much it would cost. So each sign is $35,000 to $45,000. If you decided to proceed with that, we would have to remove those funds from reserve, and then we would have to figure out which location would be best suitable for the installation of the sign. And then at that point, it would be more of a pilot, bring on one, find out its success before you invest in another. So that's, we're bringing the information forward as to the cost. I know in the council package, there was questions and answers, and we had recommended a location possibly of a Griffith area in front of the community hall. To try to communicate with the residents out in that area. If council would like to commit to these funds, then we could talk about, the most suitable location.
Okay, the reason I ask is under the summary of the original budget proposed, what's included in that in terms of the signage?
So we've not included any budget
Okay.
for any of these capital requests other than the 24,000 for docks.
Okay.
We listened to council's requests. We had multiple council's requests about docks. And then staff have also spoken with business community members that have expressed that, that they miss the docks specifically, that help their economic business. Taking both council feedback and the public and businesses feedback, we've added this capital project into the forecast.
So neither the washroom or the signage is included in your impact to the budget?
No, the signage is not included in the impact. Any of these, not any of these. The digital sign or the portable washrooms would have to be an additional reserve contribution if you wish to proceed. The only summary of the changes is the addition of the dock, which is funded from the development charge reserve, and the decrease in the municipal tax rate.
Right. So next question. For both the washrooms and the signage, how do we proceed in terms of voting on what specifically?
Council can deliberate the conversation around it, and you could provide its deliberation. So essentially, you would just direct us to go back, and you would like to see a new iteration with those purchases. When considering the installation cost of $5,000 for the one bathroom, I think that if it was approved, we'd have room to even proceed within our current budget because of the cost. So that one's a bit different. Operationally, I think we could cover it. However, when yes, you would just have a conversation, and then you would direct us to basically amend the budget to include and fund digital signage.
Thank you. Councillor Tripp?
For digital signage, have we had a chance to scope out the potential of funding other than dipping into a reserve, either through grants or alternative funding mechanisms? It's concerning. The budget is really strong, and I was pleased to see the extra addition that we've made into the reserves of the 122,000, moving the police funding into a reserve, which gives us some protection down the road, as well as the debt retirement of 72,000. So we've done a remarkable job, not just maintaining our reserves, but looking at increasing them, which is what we're going to need, not for this council, but for future councils down the road. We need to start building today on our reserves. So my concern is, I think the signage is a great idea, but not funded out of a reserve. And we could find another alternative to fund it without having to use a tax levy. So have you had a chance to look at options?
We have in the past applied for funding in different ways for digital signs. We have not been successful, but the direction here is proposing that we continue to explore those opportunities.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Just in regards to the docks, the signage, and the washrooms. These are as a result of comments back from council in regard individually to you, because I don't remember that we sat as council to give directive for those things. Is that the way I'm interpreting this? Because I don't remember those discussions around the council table.
No, so initially during the question period, staff took all the questions, summarized them, provided responses. There were numerous asks for a doc in the past prior to sitting around the initial budget presentation. When it brought forward into the when it came to budget questions, it was asked again, and then there was also some feedback from the. So staff took the initiative to add it to the budget. It can be removed if council agrees that it's not a suitable time. So that's what I'm bringing.
And then discussions are to happen today. So deliberations is where council can have a conversation about what you'd like. We don't take direction specifically from different individual councillors. They're really here as basically options or questions that councillors have asked. The consideration for the docs were really combined with more of a community input we've also received. So the docs have been a concern. Centennial Lake through surveys, strat plan. We received concerns before in the past for Madawaska Street and how the community is not able to use that area. And then I've heard of business owners concerned about that they're not able to get some of that business that comes in where somebody can, boat in and come and use the restaurants or whatnot here. So this is a staff recommendation. So recommended right now to you is the budget at a 5.69% with 2 docks funded through development charges. So we're not trying to touch any of our regular capital reserves or our tax rate. And then the other questions or the other items that were brought forward, we are looking for council's direction, and today is where you would deliberate this and you would discuss if this is what you want. We take direction from all of council.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns at this time then? Councillor Popke?
Regarding washrooms, is there not an existing public washroom at the end of the Highland Creek Road? Across from Donny Adams there?
Oh, that's on 41, yeah, that's the MTO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns at this time? Okay, so do we take direction from you, Renee, here on this one?
So what we have today is we have a budget, we have the bylaw as provided next only in case council didn't have any changes. So we'll be looking for council's direction on, is there anybody bringing up a change and would like to deliberate that change and provide us direction, specifically both. I mean, if it's relating to another project you would like to see, adjustment you'd like to see, the digital signage, we discussed the washrooms a bit, if that's of interest, I think we could work through our operational with that. But we are looking for your guidance because as we move into the next item, it will be the bylaw and you either defer it for us to make adjustments to the budget or you agree that you're okay with how the budget's being presented today.
Thank you. Comments? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. I just want to say that I agree with Councillor, what's his name? I can call it Councillor Rob Tripp, that we should be careful with reserves. At this point, we're growing, we've got future projects that will be coming, and we need to be ready for them. So, but we do need toilets right now. So I suggest we hold off on the signage, as good an idea as it seems, and spend our money finding other ways to get in touch with people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Levesque?
So I would agree with not utilizing any reserves for any digital signage at this point. But what I would like to see is to have this put on the table is either part of the marketing strategy or whatever it is. And in the meantime, look for grants and so on between now and the end of this term. I would really like to see digital signage in place, not either in place or a project in place before the end of this term, because I really do think they're valuable in a township that is so hamstrung with communication. And I really think they're a real effective way to do that. Even though the Calabogie area is not really impacted by communication so much, we have a lot of tourism rolling through this area who can also benefit from that as well, and the emergency planning and so on. So what I'd like to see is this move forward as a project in itself. So either do the research and the validation and all the things that have to happen to determine what the plan is for the future to make this happen. Or we, at some point in time, we decide this is just not something we're doing because we don't see the value in doing it. So it's kind of one or the other. If we think there's value in this, in doing it, based on funding and so on, then let's move forward with a project to get it done. And I think also, with the waterfront development project, that's going to be a huge one as well. And whether or not any kind of granting can be consolidated or anything out of that, there could be something we have to wait and see.
Thank you. Councillor Tripp?
Just to follow up, I think that's a great idea. I would also suggest when we do another community survey that we had talked about at the last presentation, we look for the response, because the response was not favorable. But what's in this round in the communication or the survey that went out, that said it was a small number. So I would question the data, and I think we do another survey where we would see a more robust response in terms of people wanting it. I do think it's a great idea, and I think there's a need for it. It just helps our policy story when we're looking for funding to be able to say, it's not just a deliberation of council, we're also hearing from our residents that this is a priority that they see, and have that documented in a survey. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Just a couple of comments for myself. So we have the waterfront development plan that's being worked on. That would entail also looking at the docks, correct? I assume. So I'm not sure, perhaps we can have this budgeted in for docks but I think we need to tie it into the overall plan as well. So they're saying that yes, we can look into the docks, but how would that tie into our plan at this time? And perhaps it doesn't actually tie in at this time. But if we don't move forward with the docks, then we have that money to put back into reserve. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so the money, those funds would remain in the development charge reserve.
Okay. Yep. Councillor Levesque.
Just in response to that, the initial doc request came from me for the Calabogie piece. And one of the discussions I had with the CAO was that it's somewhat premature for the overall development. But in doing so, what I had suggested was whatever the dock selection would be, that it would be integrated in whatever plan we have for the future. But of course, that's not known, so it's hard to know what could be integrated. But at the same time, it would preclude that you wouldn't invest a ton of money into a dock that you may not be able to use in the future. So whatever is done in terms of the dock now, the assumption is it would be utilized in the future as well as part of that scenario.
Go ahead, CAO.
And considering adding the docks, we considered the fact that they can be used elsewhere. We also considered that we've heard that through the waterfront development, it'd be nice to have slips and whatnot on Madawaska Street. So our thought process was that this is pilot. We're doing lots of pilot here. So this is pilot, try a dock. It's just a small one. We'll see if there's usage. We're kind of assessing the usage of it there. Same thing as Centennial Lake. We've had, concerns and questions regarding docks there. So we're going to put it out there. It's pilot. We need to figure out where it is, how high it is. We need to do this stuff. So we have to have a bit of a starting point. Being able to assess through having a dock there and in a different location and public, it would give us the opportunity on Madawaska Street to be able to see if this is something we should be pursuing through the waterfront plan or if that's not something of interest.
Thank you. Any other questions? One I'll throw out there, and I know it's down the road because you're going to be looking at washrooms and stuff and getting different analysis and background. One of the things I would ask you to look at, and I don't know the pricing of them or anything, but they do actually have the portable washrooms on wheels, not like on a trailer now. And I'd just like you to explore that for two reasons. One, we can take them out when the winter comes in areas, but two, that if in fact, and I hope it never happens again, that our fire department has to go out and have a wildfire situation again, then we could actually bring the washrooms to them instead of them having to try and find locations. So just if you can keep that in your mind when you're looking in and researching. Thank you.
Yeah, that's also to do with portable showers. That had come up at one time for emergencies and that sort of thing. So I'll actually maybe look into bathrooms and see if there's a combination. Maybe it's the same, but anyway, thanks.
Thank you. I guess we will move on to the bylaw now, 10.4.
Ready?
Yep, resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 64-2024 being a bylaw to adopt the 2025 operating and capital budget estimates, and that council repeal bylaw 06-2024 being a bylaw to provide for the remuneration of employees of the municipality for the year 2024, and that council approves bylaw 65-2024 being a bylaw to provide the remuneration of employees of the municipality for the year of 2025 effective January 1st, 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. Do we need any more background, people? No, none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, carried. Thank you. Strategic plan 10.5.
That council endorse the 2025 strategic initiatives action plan as attached.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Tripp. Background, please.
So what you have here is we just went through the year in review and we talked about the 2024 initiatives and this is heading off into 2025. So you'll see in the attached 2025 strategic initiatives action plan, the key initiatives for 2024 and the status, which is similar to the presentation you would have seen. And then over here, we have the 2025 key initiatives and target completion dates. So then we would be reporting in, just like we did with this past year, on actions. And these actions are to be included in departmental.
Thanks. Oh, you're not logged in, okay. I just was thinking for the.
Just give me a second, I'm going to connect my screen.
Maybe.
Thank you. Here we are. Good. I don't know if it's close enough for you. Oh, it's going to be blurry. Let me get as close as I can. It's still blurry. Okay, so what we have is in 2025, we would have still to develop a strategy to address the communication gaps for council consideration. So this is where we've identified gaps and we're going to work through things. Newsletters was a big item, by email and by address. So when the communication survey went out, you had the ability to respond and provide your address if you want to mail out, or provide your email address and if you want to email out. We've taken those, and once we start developing this new newsletter, we'll be able to mail out for mail outs and proceed with that. We have building permits, so through modernizing and streamline the development process. It's the building permits software, City Reporter, that CBO was referring to. This is the ability to for residents to submit applications electronically. So right now we're inward facing. This would be externally facing, where they can start submitting through the portal also. In that, the planning department's looking at City Reporter, also its capabilities to doing planning applications. So all those would be electronically driven. We would be looking for applications, so planning applications, getting them up to policy and confirming, and then developing educational summaries for planning applications. So this would be these little tutorial on how to complete an application and whatnot, available to the public to assist in applying for permits or whatnot within the township. Under short-term accommodations, we're looking at going live with licensing, and then we're going to provide a mid-year update to council on how the progress is going. We do have a lot of short-term accommodation owners sitting on the sideline right now waiting to be able to apply, and we look forward to having the portal open in January. We're still working with increasing connectivity. We do have Coach Co and Bell within the community, putting high-speed internet, and Public Works Department processes their road cutting permits as fast as they can to be able to ensure that it's meeting timelines, as well as the connectivity of the towers are all intended, I think, to be up and running by the end of 2025. There's the encourage mixed development, which we're looking to meet with local developers and builders to discuss challenges and opportunities and have a big roundtable conversation around that. And then there's policy, so researching policy to achieve attainable housing, and then reporting to council with considerations. This can include stuff like if you have lower cost housing coming in, we may be able to, through policy, defer or not require some of the application fees to be able to encourage that type of development. Marketing strategy, it'll be the actual implementation and launch of the new township logo, as well as the wayfinding signage. We have the connect with the businesses and create cross-business tourist packages, so working with the businesses across for this, and then support business initiatives and events through social media. The waterfront plan details are going to be provided following the planning review options roundtable. So we're looking to set a council meeting. You can see right below a special council meeting with council to discuss. My battery's going to die. So.
Anybody have the same charger?
So, trying to talk as fast as I can. No, it's not going to.
It's not going to work?
No.
No. Okay.
Robin, do you want to get it from my desk, please? So, yeah, so the intent here is to have this conversation about, we've talked before about secondary plans and whatnot, which are really important in the village and development plan also. They kind of tie into each other. So we need to have that council meeting roundtable discussion to be able to proceed with that type of item. So throughout the year, we'll be adding direction under that depending on how conversations go. And then, so there's the review of the alternative recreational trails. So it's just developing, so we report to council on options on how to, if there's options for redirecting the KMP trail to go in or proceed in less populated areas. And then the other piece is land acquisition. So we're still considering this. Again, it really ties into this plan for the official plan and what we want to do there to identify lands and connect with property owners. And then also the township have lands that we may consider as we can dispose of to have funding to procure other land. So there's opportunities there. We are waiting for the outcome from the Seniors Active Living Center. So I kind of set that there because the launch of it, if we are successful with the grant, would be proceeding. And then continuing to offer youth programming, music in the park, which are really, a lot of it is driven through conversations the Recreation and Culture Committee are leading. We have, connecting with neighboring municipalities on the use of their recreational facilities and really building those partnerships. We have one with Renfrew, and it's, maybe we have another partnership with Arm Prior for the pool. So we'd be looking into that. And then, so I have again, exploring opportunities to support the Calabogie Medical Center. We just submitted for a delegation at Roma in January. So that'll be a step towards looking at opportunities there. And then emergency management plan and preparedness has been a big item. So we just finished with wildfire. We'd be moving into cyber attacks and business continuity emergency plans. So we'd be looking at developing that in the new year. We will be running some tests with cybersecurity and how that looks like for our township. And then we'd like to do an exercise for our annual emergency on that to make sure we're prepared. The asset management plan component, the last requirements are in July 1st, 2025. So we're working towards those requirements through the treasurer and then finalizing the 10-year funding strategy for council endorsement. We continue to work on policies and bylaws to modernize them and bring them up to date and add policies that we would require. And then council has approved the review of a waste management fees review. So that's to be completed. I think overall this promoting waste diversion is going to be through the whole period of the term, but this project specifically will be happening in 2025. And then the review of township services and HR requirements. It's really township succession planning and then completing people readiness assessment to present to council. And so today I'm just asking for endorsement on these strategies and initiatives, and if there's anything that council would like to see or not see within the list.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, discussion items from council? All in favor of accepting? That is carried. Unanimous. We'll now move on to section 11.1, Canada Day Committee. Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. A very brief update. We've had our second meeting. This is a quiet time as we're just gearing up and arranging some of the early bookings. So things like fireworks and washrooms and things that book early, we have reserved, and we're just now working on the procurement policies and procedures to put things in place to make that happen. We've applied for the grant that comes from the federal government, as we do every year. These are activities that happen in the fall. Most of the heavy lifting will start in January at our first January meeting as we start to work our work plan out. This year, we'll be looking at modifying our operational manual so that future boards will be able to just pick up the book and by month open it up and follow the checklist of things that need to be done along with contact names. So it allows for that succession planning for board members and chairs. We're starting to look for new ideas. The Lumberjack was a huge success last year. It's a hard act to follow, but we're starting now to look at something that's new and different that will allow for that different opportunity and different draw for people, as well as more activities for adults who are showing up with kids but want to have things to do with them more in line with their activities. So that's it, a very light report, more to follow in January when we start getting into the mechanics of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to section 11.2, Recreation Culture Committee. Councillor Levesque.
Thank you. So a few things on the governance in the committee. We've had our chair step down due to some time commitment problems. So we've since the last meeting, we've elected a new chair, Heather Crawley, who is new to the committee this year. Of course, it's a new committee, so everybody's new. But she's new to the area, so it's good to see some involvement there. And per the committee terms of reference, we'll either seek out another committee member through the available candidates who have previously applied. And if that isn't available, then we can cast it out to the community for additional membership. As it was mentioned earlier, we had the Greater Madawaska Activity Showcase held on November 23rd. Approximately 60 people attended the free event with 15 activities and presenters with lots of positive feedback received from both exhibit presenters and participants. All felt it was a worthwhile community event. And it certainly helped to expose activity-based things that were going on in the community, not so much things for sale, but things like memberships were sold. So that's really positive. Many felt it's a thing that we should do again next year, and we'll determine what that looks like, including when we would do that. So there was some suggestions about doing it in the spring versus the fall. So we're going to come back to that. We're also going to be sending out a thank you and seeking more feedback from those who participated. So we'll get some more feedback. When that's ready, then we can go back and determine what the plans are for the following year. But I just want to say a big thank you to the committee, particularly Tracy Fredericks, the event coordinator, and the great support from the Lions Club and the Township staff. So thank you all for that. We reviewed the 25-26 goals and priorities. So Heather actually put together a consolidated view of the various things that we've got either on the go or things we would like to bring forward. And we did discuss that, and we are going to take that away and distill it and then come back with a report back to council as to what the next set of priorities would be over the next couple of years. Keeping in mind there are some short-term, seasonal, and also long-term things that were identified. We also had a request from the Canada Day Committee to engage, certainly from Jane Ware, the chair, to engage with the Recreation and Culture Committee, seeing now that the committee's in full swing, as well as the Canada Day Committee. So we're going to invite Jane to the next Recreation and Culture Committee meeting as a delegation to kind of discuss that in further detail and determine where we can help out. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Thompson.
Excellent work, by the way. When you work on do that connection with the Canada Day Committee, will you be inviting someone from the Madawaska Hall to participate? Because I don't think there's anyone on either committee from Madawaska, if I'm right.
Correct, on the latter part. We've only been approached through the chair of the Canada Day Committee.
Okay.
So whoever is on that committee, the assumption is they're represented by the chair.
Sorry, Madam Clerk?
The representative from the DACA Center and from the Madawaska Hall are going to be involved in the Canada Day Committee, future meetings. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? No. Well, thank you for the information. This takes us to section 12, 12.1, enter into closed.
Mayor Weir,
Yes?
did you want to pass a motion to go past 6?
Oh, we were approaching 6, are we? Before
Just
we
in
go into
case
close.
just in case during
Yeah, I think we
closed?
better. Do you have the document? Because I don't. I'll read this if you want. Be it resolved that the Township of Greater Madawaska Council proceed beyond the hour of 6 p.m. at the 5th of December 2024 regular council meeting as per section 13.12 of bylaw 24-023 being a procedural bylaw. Need a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. All righty. Now we'll move on to section 12.1, enter into close. Resolution, please.
That the council meeting of December 5th, 2024 enter into closed session at 5:37 p.m. pursuant to section 2932 of the Municipal Act regarding 1, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically A, Causeway Easement, and B, Smithson Lane, and 2, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, A, Peaks Village, 3, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically CAOs.
We have a mover. Oh, we already did. Yeah, we did that already. Now I need us to vote on it, sorry. Did we not get a mover? Well, that was the motion, sorry. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Okay, there we go. Going into close. Sean, you can count us out. Welcome back. It is now 6:16. We'd like to do 13.1, move to open. Resolution, please.
That the council meeting of December 5th, 2024 move back into open session at 6:16 PM.
We have a mover. It's Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor to move into open? That is carried. Thank you. Section 14.1, move to rise and report. Resolution, please.
That council reports the following as a result of closed meeting item: 1, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically A, causeway easement discussion item, B, Smithson Lane discussion item, 2, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, A, Peaks Village discussion item, 3, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically A, CAO goals, discussion item.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Section 15.1, bylaw approval. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw 63-2024 be deemed read a first, second, and final time and passed by council at the regular council meeting held December 5th, 2024.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tripp to second. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Now move on to 16.1, motion to adjourn. Resolution, please.
That the regular council meeting of December 5th, 2024 be adjourned at 6:18 PM.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson. Second, Councillor Levesque. All in favor to adjourn. That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you very much. Be safe, everyone.